Hello. Finally, I'm back from being sick for 1,000 light years. I am currently filming this on Christmas Day, so I wanted to go over some of the things I read between November and this month, which really was not that much because I didn't read much in November because of NaNoWriMo, and I didn't read much this month because I had not been feeling well. So last month I read a book called The End We Start From by Megan Hunter. This book I read in one sitting. It was really short reading, and it was basically, this one was interesting. It was sort of like a post-apocalyptic, or maybe not post-apocalyptic, more like a during apocalyptic book. There's a rising flood in London and people have to evacuate, and you have this woman, this unnamed protagonist, that gives birth to her first child, Z. And it basically, the book just covers them trying to get a safe haven, and the book watches the boy Z, I think it's a boy, it's been a month, grow, and it's covers motherhood and friendship and all this stuff. And I think it wasn't bad. I rated it 3 stars. I think one thing I got caught up on was that the protagonist didn't have a name, and every character in the book was a letter. So the boy was Z, and then like her friends were like LMNO, and it was just, I don't know why, but it just messed me up. I was like, it would have been, I think because they didn't have like regular names, I had a harder time keeping track of the characters. So when it's like, and M did this, and I'm like, okay, which one's M? But I thought it was really cool because it was told in a different manner. It was told in, little paragraphs, kind of, I don't know how to explain it, like little segments. It wasn't a story told in verse, but it did seem kind of poetic, kind of lyrical, I guess, just in the way she used her words. And that's why I liked it. But me and my brain just couldn't handle the characters not having names. And I think that took away from the story for me. But I would recommend it, especially considering the fact that you can read it in one sitting. Another book I read in November was The Sun of Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. I'm assuming that you pronounce it. This is this author's second collection of poetry. I had not read the first, which is the one that pretty much everyone has read, The Milk and Honey. Have not read that, so I didn't know anything about this author's style of poetry when I picked this up. I enjoyed it. To be honest, I mean, I've read a lot of different poetry, and so it's not like it blew me away and blew my mind, but I enjoyed it. Yes, I'm in my pajamas for the 10,000th time. That's all I do, is sit in my pajamas all day. But I've been sick. So I would recommend it. Okay. Next was a book I did not plan on reading, and that was The Giver by Lois Lurie. I'm probably the only person on the planet who has not written this book, considering it came out quite some time ago. But I never even heard of it until, I guess I didn't hear of it until the sequel started coming in. This book was recommended to me during NaNoWriMo because I was having problems word building, maybe that too, but world building, because my story has a lot of stuff that needs to be explained eventually. Some stories you can just put people in the book and say, this is our world, deal with it, but this one's a little different. One of the women that had participated in NaNoWriMo, who was a very big help to me throughout that month, she recommended the book. I had heard of it, and she recommended it. She recommended it not because this book was similar to mine. She wanted me to see the dystopian world. I had a very adverse reaction to this book. Not that the book was bad. Everything was fine at first. Okay, this is a juvenile book, so it's you're going to read it fast. I read it in one sitting. So when I first started reading it, everything was going well, and I'm like, this is good. And then something clipped, and I just started feeling sick. I don't know what it was. Something just started to like make me edgy, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. Like I was just like just ready to be over with it. I had this very uneasy feeling all of a sudden, and I actually thought it was really good. I rated it 3 stars only because it made me feel weird. Sometimes when I read a book, I have to read it twice because I don't digest it well, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And this might be one of the books where I have to reread it because sometimes, especially depending on how it's written, if it's something that's really shocking or something that catches me off guard, I usually have to read it twice. So I might read it again this coming year. And I'm interested in reading the other books in the series, even though from what I understand, it doesn't exactly like follow the same protagonist. As far as the world building and this type of dystopia, it's actually, I thought it was very unique. I don't know, maybe I was not in the right mood to read it. I would still recommend it because I know I'm a weirdo. So that book I read on December 1st. And then we have Devotions, the Selected Poems of Mary Oliver by Mary Oliver. This is not any new poetry. This is a selection. This is a thank you, train of thought. I appreciate it. A collection of previously published poetry, all the poems selected from all of her poetry collections, from her very first poetry collection to her most recent, which was good for me because while I've read her books that have been written in prose, I've only read one poetry collection of hers, and that was a book that came out a couple years ago, maybe 4 years ago, called Dog Songs, which I would definitely recommend if you are an animal or dog lover and you like poetry. I would definitely recommend it. I love that book, and I love that book. But anyway, this was just a collection, and I would recommend this for someone who really hasn't read anything Mary Oliver, because you're getting basically a taste of every single one of her collections to date. And that way, if you read something from a certain collection you like, you can go seek out that collection. As far as people who are already fans of hers, this is nothing new. It's just selected poems. Some people like to collect stuff like that. So let's see, this is the only goober that I have touched between last month and this month, and that was How to Weep in Public, Feeble Offerings on Depression from One Who Knows by Jacqueline Novak. I distinctly remember often reading someone's review on a book, and reading the words, I really wanted to like this novel, or hearing someone say in a video, I really wanted to like this book. Now I know what that feels like, to really have wanted to like something and it's just not working. This book is it's part memoir, but it's also supposed to be like a parody of self-help books, or like an anti-self-help book. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be like dark humor. So I thought I was going to love this book because that's right up my alley. It's a book about talking about depression. It's supposed to be kind of self-deprecating. It's dark humor. And to me, it just failed. There were a couple moments where I kind of like chuckled in my head, or like I kind of nodded in agreement, understanding certain things about depression, but it just fell flat. It seemed like the author was trying way too hard to be funny, and it just didn't work. Her theme is kind of like, embrace the depression, don't even bother, and it's supposed to be funny, and I really 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 wanted to like it, and it just fell flat for me. It could just be me. The average rating on Goodreads is 3.55, so that's decent. I rated it 2 stars because I did appreciate some of the humor, but just it wasn't what I expected it to be, and I was really disappointed. I love dark humor, and I feel that you do need people to make fun of the messed up stuff. Like, you really do need that. And it's not because depression isn't serious or because cancer isn't serious, but you do need that person that has gone through it that can just make light of all the messed up stuff. And so it just didn't work. But that was like the only book in quite some time, actually, that it just didn't work out. I haven't been to the library to return this because I've been sick. It's not overdue. Good thing. You're Not That Great, but Neither Is Anyone Else by Elan Gale. This was a book that I just happened to grab on my way out of volunteering because, the title grabbed me. It wasn't, I looked and said, oh, it's not that long. This one I actually liked. It's humorous, but it's not like a parody. It's a real self-help book. And it's not like embracing negativity like it's bad to be positive. What I got from this book is that sometimes you need negative feelings to get you productive and get you to grow and get you to learn, which makes sense to me because I've always felt that you learn more from your failures than from the times you succeed. So basically, this person's message is that when you go through a bad time, you need to allow yourself to have those feelings. But a lot of times we're quick to do anything to make the rotten feelings go away in an untimely manner. I mean, eventually, yes, you want to feel better, but we like self-soothe ourselves and we throw all this positivity and it's the wrong time. And it's like, well, if you're covering up all your feelings, how are you supposed to learn? How are you supposed to get better if you're telling yourself you're as awesome as you can possibly be? Well, if you're as awesome as you can possibly be, there's no reason for you to practice doing anything. There's no reason for you to go to school because you're already awesome. So it's not like he is trying to like upset anyone. I really found that the things that he said in this book were pretty good. It's not, like I said, it's not that it's wrong to try to be positive. Of course you want to be positive, but not to the point where you are holding yourself back by not allowing yourself to feel the feelings that you should feel when you fail. You need those feelings. You need to be able to remember how embarrassed you were when something happened because you want to make sure that you get better so you don't embarrass yourself again. And that's pretty much what I pulled from this book. I do like this guy's humor, and seeing this is an example of self-deprecating humor gone right. And this book is actually helpful. Once you get past how acerbic he is, you're kind of like, oh, I get what you're saying, sir. Those are the books that I have read. Like I said, I pretty much enjoyed all of them except for the How to Weep in Public. I do have some books I need to jump on already because I have 2 books from the First Read program. A Treacherous Curse by Deanna Raybourn, which I obviously entered to win it because if they would have gave it to me, it would have said guaranteed copy. But it's like, I don't know why I would request a book that I know is part of a series. That book comes out on the 16th, so I got to get going on that. I also am going to be reading soon a book called Take Me With You by Andrea Gibson, kind of like a LARC type deal. I was like, that looks interesting, click. I know it kind of seems like I'm not into it, but I'm still recovering from like a just obnoxious cold, so I'm low energy, but I really wanted to get this done. More than likely, my next video is going to be New Year's resolutions, talking about my resolutions from this year and my 2018 resolutions, which I haven't even thought of yet. And that's it. And happy reading. And I will talk to you soon.